Hey, how's everybody doing? Chapter 1163 of One Piece, titled Promise, is out. And we're here with a reader request. We've got Luffy here doing some parkour with some white gibbons. The number 56 is displayed across the monkeys and Luffy's shorts, obviously, reference to Gummu. It's nice to get some reader requests every once in a while, especially now that the Yamato cover story is over. That cover story was running for quite a long time. And with the cool reveal of Gecko Moria being Kazuki Moria, with the kanji flipped, which is sneaky on Oda's part the whole time. I suppose that was in our faces. But it is nice to see Oda doing some freelance art again. Reader requests are always fun to see. But anyways, let's get into the meat of this chapter. Imu has arrived on God Valley, and much like with the current events happening on Elbaf, has possessed Saint Saturn. Although, unlike what's happening in Elbaf with Gunko being possessed, it seems Imu is riding Saturn, although I do believe Imu is fully in control. What is also interesting to note is Imu is to scale with Saturn's size. They are massive here. And the very first thing that Imu decides to do is start attacking both Marines and pirates alike. They are destroying pretty much all the fodder on the island indiscriminately. We see pirates grabbing their treasure and running for their lives. Marines are planning to retreat and withdraw their units, despite still respecting the authority of Saint Saturn, which is insane. Watching your own comrades be slaughtered like lambs and still not fighting back or attacking just because they are a head authority of the world. And furthering Imu's arrival here, we get the perspective of three major players currently on the island. Starting with Roger, he motions for his crew to take the treasure and get out of there. He's trying to protect his crew. We also see Rox, who is the first individual to come in direct contact with Imu and immediately throws out an insult worthy of Imu himself. What's very cool about this part, however, is Imu does not refer to Rox as Rox. He refers to him as Davy Jones, not even his true name, Davy D. Zebek, but presumably the progenitor himself, Davy Jones. Rox's take on this is very weird, as he says, "You've got the wrong guy. I've never even met him." However, he says, promises are meant to be kept. And we don't entirely understand what this means yet coming from Rox. However, we're going to circle back to that because Garp is furious with what he's seeing. It is revealed that Garp has never seen the Five Elders before, and obviously Imu in that regard, and he is furious that it is attacking his fellow Marines. Now, his direct response to this is to offer backup, and it's very funny to see the other Marines questioning, whose side are we going to back up here as Rox engages Imu in a fight? Obviously, Garp is the devil himself to pirates, especially someone like Rox, who stands at the peak of this world. The pirating world, at the very least. And Garp has the most devilish grin on his face. And we'll see why that is later in the chapter. Now, during all of this chaos that's unfolding on the island, we see the Roger pirates hauling off with treasure. The Rox pirates are doing the same. There's tons of infighting. And it cuts to Captain John, drunkenly, mind you, muttering something about so long, Rox pirates. And all of a sudden, across different perspectives of the island, we see massive amounts of treasure go flying towards him. Now, what's interesting about this is Dragon, who is still carrying baby Shanks, is so close to a Navy ship to save this child. And all of a sudden, he himself also takes off into the sky. As all of this treasure and metal is starting to erupt into the sky, it is revealed that Captain John is the former user of Kid's Magnet Devil Fruit, we see him use an attack called Big Eater, and this is the explanation for everything treasure related and metal related coming up into the sky and hoarding all at his location. Now, it does seem like this is a pretty strong influence on these metal objects, as even pirates of Scopper Gabon's caliber are struggling to hold on to their weapons. And obviously, a weaker character like this here 17-year-old dragon was entirely lifted into the air just because of the weapon that he was holding. Captain John, obviously being a traitorous fellow, is stealing all of the treasure for himself. Now we see Gonzui with something small at his fingertips, almost like in a flicking motion. He flicks something at John as he realizes that John is stealing all of this treasure, and John explodes as it turns out that Gonzui is the user of another devil fruit we've seen in the modern day, Mr. Five's devil fruit. I believe the devil fruit is called the Bamu Bamu no Mi. We see Captain John pretty much eviscerated on the floor. And, really quick, what's funny about that, I didn't see the parallels between Captain John and Eustace Kid until just right now. And let me tell you, that devil fruit power has had some questionable users in recent times. Joking, of course, but it is funny to make that comparison. But as the magnet powers turn off now that Captain John has essentially been defeated by a massive explosion from Gonzui's booger bomb, we see Dragon and all the treasure that is accumulated in the sky on its way to John fall to the ground. Now, Shiki flies over and interrogates Gonzui, where it is revealed by Gonzui that each chest being carried to John was worth at least 1 billion berries. This is so shocking to Shiki, and it catches him off guard so much that we see Gonzui also go to initiate attack against another former Rocks member. And as Emu keeps attacking all of the civilians of God Valley, pirates and marines alike, we cut back to Garp running, dragging resistant marines, telling him not to do what they think he's about to do. Straight for Emu. We see Kaido in his newly found dragon form and Whitebeard basically watching Rocks as he tries to still engage on Emu, although it doesn't seem like any of his attacks are very effective. And Kaido notices something behind him. Big Mom is furious with him for stealing this devil fruit. And as she winds up to attack him, Kaido also attempts to use a new attack for the first time. Whitebeard charges up a named attack. Rocks, Roger, and Garp all prepare to demolish Emu. All 6 characters of a minimum Yonko caliber fighting level hit Emu with a named attack. This, honestly, is one of the most insane panels in all of One Piece, and genuinely almost feels made up. This feels like something straight from a fan fiction or a fan's headcanon. I cannot believe that we are seeing these 6 titans all go up against presumably the god of this world. And despite how utterly devastating these series of attacks are, Emu treats it like it's absolutely nothing, not a scar to be found on them. And again here, just to reinforce this, we're talking Galaxy Impact, Kamusari, which is Divine Departure, Pandemonium of the Abyss, which is Rox's first named attack, at least I'm pretty sure. We see Whitebeard's named attack, which pretty much translates to Shattering Void, of course, Big Mom's classic Ikkaku Sovereignty, and a young Kaido with an attack just named Dragon, which is funny. I cannot believe that Emu just not only took this attack, but basically treated it like nothing. Emu here in this moment is representing a level of power in the One Piece world that we have never ever been privy to. These are ridiculous feats from all six of these characters, and blowing it off like it's nothing. In fact, this combined attack with these six characters, massively insane Conqueror's Hockey, is so destructive that their explosion of the clash is heard and felt, especially throughout all of God Valley, as we see Marines and pirates passing out from this attack. And in this commotion, this hockey burst on an almost unprecedented level outside of Joy Boy's not release on Egghead. We see Dragon holding on to what seems like Shanks. However, it is actually a fallen debris. It is like a log from a tree. Shanks is gone, and while he's crawling away, suddenly now very separated from Dragon, he sees sparkly gems in a treasure chest and motions to crawl inside the chest, effectively saving his own life. As Emu recovers from this attack pretty much immediately, we get some funny banter between the six of the characters. We see Big Mom demanding compensation from Kaido as he responds with saying that he cannot spit out the fruit that he's already eaten, which is the two of these characters have been so lovable, and their dynamic has really improved my perception of them. I was not a huge fan of either of those characters during Wano, and I think even just getting the slightest personality quirks from them has just been an absolute delight. And on the other side of this, we see Garp and Roger arguing like true rivals as Garp declares that it was his blow that did the trick against Emu, and Roger furiously retorts that it was his attack that took Emu out. It seems as though Rox is the only character to fully realize that all of these attacks had almost no effect on Emu as they start regenerating immediately. And as these characters all begin to slowly realize that Emu, how would you guys pronounce that? Emu, I'm assuming it's Emu. He refers to himself as Mu, so I'm not entirely sure, but I guess from here on out I will just refer to them as Emu. As they realize that Emu is recovering, Emu basically starts taunting Rox. He says that, there's two new Davy members, a woman and child, of course referring to Zebek's wife and child. And this mention of his family frustrates Rox. We see a look of worry appear on his face as he once again goes to initiate Emu and slices him into 4 pieces. Now, as Garp and the rest are watching this, Rox insinuates that Emu's going to attack his family. He said, whatever you're thinking about doing, you better not do it. And it's interesting that Emu responds by saying, myself, I will do nothing. You will end your own bloodline. And he tells Rox to slaughter his own wife and child as he stabs Rox with 2 tendril-looking pieces of his own silhouetted body. Now, Rox's initial response to this is one of surprise, as apparently, even though he has 2 large tentacles protruding through his torso, he notices that it doesn't even hurt or itch, which is a very strange thing for someone to say when they are being impaled in 2 different locations. And we hear Emu utter the phrase Domi Reversi as we see Rox start to transform into a demon. So, wow.